This is the Between Ghosts of El Paso, Part 5. Let's do some recapping. Taking a look at the threat tab, we currently have 3 active threats, which means no more new threats will get introduced. And those 3 threats are the Daisy Man, the Ghost Riders of Sawtooth Ridge, and the Corset. Now, you've made some progress on the Daisy Man and the Ghost Riders of Sawtooth Ridge. On the Daisy Man, you have answered the threshold question of whether this is a man or a ghost, or a person or a ghost, who's committing these series of spectral break-ins. And we've determined that it's a ghost. And indeed, I think we think it's specifically Clarence O'Toole, if I'm not mistaken, is the perpetrator.
Right, but we saw that Clarence O'Toole might not be Clarence O'Toole.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in any case, we do have this question of why are they committing these crimes, and answering it allows you to lure the Daisy Man to you and perform a quieting ritual. That's a complexity 4. You currently have 3 available clues on that question. The Ghost Riders of Sawtooth Ridge, you also answered a question there, which is, why do the dead Rangers want Jimmy Pike dead? And I actually don't remember what the reason was. Can someone remind me what did Jimmy Pike do?
Jimmy Pike tried to stop them from summoning the spirit that's at the bottom of the mine.
That is correct. We have this sort of Lovecraftian cosmic horror thing going on at the bottom of the mine. Jimmy Pike tried to stop them. They all wanted to summon it for some reason, and Jimmy Pike attempted to stop them, and Jimmy Pike tried to stop them. We have established that, but we haven't really established like who killed the Rangers or why, unless he killed them to stop them. I guess that's what we're kind of implying here.
I thought the spirit did it.
Yeah, the thing in the mine killed them.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, all right.
It was a summoning gone wrong.
Yeah,
That's
like
right.
he stopped them or tried to stop them, but that might have just interfered and let the thing
let it get loose and cause trouble. Okay, great. Now that I understand what's going on, that's good. Anyway, we have a question here, which is, where is Jimmy hiding? And I did not write down the opportunity on the sheet, but it is, well, you've got 2 choices here: resolve the threat by helping the Ghost Riders take their revenge on Jimmy, or resolve the threat by laying a trap for the Ghost Riders and then destroying them. It sounds like you're kind of going with the latter. Maybe that seems to be where the story is going, is stopping the Ghost Riders. But in any case, you get to decide when the time comes. You have a complexity 4, and you actually have 4 clues available. No, 5 clues available on that right now. So that one's in really good shape. And then we have the new threat, which you made a little bit of progress on last time at the assemblage, which is the Corset. And this is that really like intense horror one where there is a corset that is some kind of malignant or demonic entity that is murdering people associated with the Red Rock Cantina and Dancehall. You currently have 2 clues on that. One of them was a very public sort of thing that I think Lola and Diamond Dave are going to have some a task justifying and covering up because basically the town was there when it happened. But that was that one of the dance hall girls, Hannah Russell, was killed by the corset during the assemblage. There was also a stack of love letters from Diamond Dave to Luann, who was one of the victims. That was the other clue you got there. In any case, we have 2 questions there, either of which can be pursued. What does the corset want, or how can the corset be controlled? You have 4 mastermind clues, and you've also learned a fair amount about the masterminds as well. And taking a look at conditions, everyone's in decent shape except for Slade, who has 3 conditions currently. Everybody else just has 1, it looks like. Although there are some complicated ones, though. Sidewinder Kid being marked by the Daisy Man is maybe not great. Being marked by Charles Bellevue for Sister Mary is maybe not dangerous, but it could be troubling. It could be annoying or problematic in its way. And then Wyatt has the very, very strange cryptic condition, can't trust the sun. We've also kind of like hinted at last time that Wyatt might be dying of consumption or some other sort of disease, which I think is worth reminding everyone of. And yeah, any questions or anything before we start? Okay.
I do have a question. When Hannah died, what happened to the corset? Did she just die and that was the end of the
Yeah.
night?
Yeah, that
Okay.
was it. And we've established that it doesn't matter what you do with the corset, it always ends up back in the Red Rock Cantina.
Yeah.
So, but no, we didn't see what happened at the end of
Okay.
that. I
Perfect. I
suspect,
just wanted to remember where we cut off.
yeah, I will tell you that, like, probably in the aftermath of that, Lola and Diamond Dave almost certainly came up with a story for everyone, like, oh, she'd been sick for days or whatever, and are already trying to, like, tamp down, like, the dread and fear because they have a business to run and they're very serious about their business. There's still a lot more to do with the Red Rock Cantina, though. You've only seen a fraction of it. And so if there are no other questions, we will dive right in to the day phase. If you haven't done so already, do take a minute to adjust your dawn questions if you want. We always kind of skim over that during the dawn phase, but you are allowed to change them if you wish. So now's a good time to do that if you want to. I don't need to present a new threat because we have 3. And so we'll just do regular scenes. Why don't we go around the table and find out what everyone is interested in doing today? I'm going to start with Slade.
I think I'd like to get a chess game going with someone. Work on some
Yes.
conditions.
For purposes of clearing conditions, I'm down with that. Wyatt?
I'm in for chess. That sounds like a great idea. Also, I think at some point I think the thing I have for Travis today is I want him to take the corset out of the Red Rock and watch it.
Just like keep your eyes on it.
Yeah. He can do that or not do that, but that is the task assigned.
Very good. Do you want that scene, or do you want to just say that you gave that task already to Travis?
We can just say that I've already given him the task.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, Travis, what are you going to do?
I will comply with that request begrudgingly, I think. Seems like a task that's beneath me, even especially now I've been officially deputized. But
that's right, you
but
were.
I'll do it, yeah.
Along with Lloyd Miller, I think. And
Yeah, Lloyd.
And with Dudley Wainwright, that makes 3. So yeah, 3 deputies. Good to go. Elmer also volunteered to be deputy, but I don't think anybody took him up on that. Okay, great. And Sister Mary?
Well, I was going to kind of force Travis along with me to check out the corset, so this works out really well.
Very good. Yeah, in fact, I think maybe watching the corset in the Red Rock would be fun. That'd be a fun thing to do. Maybe going to the Red Rock and doing it there.
I think because
Yeah.
Wyatt had assigned me the task of basically saving Travis's soul, I'm going to be definitely on his case about that today.
Fabulous. Slade, why don't you set up the scene with you and Wyatt?
I think Slade will appear at the front door this time at Wyatt's house, much like he did last time when he played with Travis with his now trusty chess set underarm, and just knock and ask. I wondered if you would be interested in a game.
I mean, sure. Is this something like checkers? We probably best play out here. I don't have much space or much furniture inside, I guess, is
I
as the
expected
case may be.
more from you in terms of knowledge. I shall teach you as well.
Fantastic. We can keep it going.
Yeah, so I just imitate how you set the board and listen to your explanations. But I'm preoccupied. I'm preoccupied with the happenings in El Paso. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, Slade. We tried burning it, salting it, throwing it in the river. We tried burying it. I'm starting to wonder if it's all some kind of weird hoax, some kind of promotional stunt somehow that Diamond Dave is cooking up, that somehow he's going to make this corset thing a moneymaker. But then there's the girl, the one who died. It makes me think, well, it just might be true.
It is bound to a demonic entity, or an entity is bound to it. You are in check.
What is check? Now, Demons? Really? We haven't had no trouble with demons before. It's always ghosts. Ghosts are the problem here. And more often than not, it's just somebody trying to make a buck or two.
Ghosts.
What makes you so
demons.
sure?
I encountered a presence tied to it, something sewn into its very fabric.
Mr. Slade, you seem to have more expertise than usual. How'd you learn about these sorts of things doing what you do for a living?
You might be surprised at what one encounters at the ranch, Mr. Walker.
I dare say I would be if it's demons.
That feels
Sometimes
good.
cows.
Feels like a good cut. How are we looking on conditions here?
I think like playing a game of chess out in the daylight is like
Okay, yeah.
working
I
off
like
this
that.
condition.
Yeah, I'll take it. Slade?
Maybe spending some time with the more grounding element will help
Yeah,
him
good.
distance from the voice in the mind.
Yeah, I like it. Sounds good to me. Think about which bonus you want, Slade. I'm going to cut over to Travis and Sister Mary. Let's talk about the Red Rock Cantina a little bit more, shall we? It is, I think I mentioned last time that it's essentially two buildings. One, the original building is the cantina, which is a long single-story adobe building. And then the new building is the dance hall, which is a two-story wooden structure with apartments on the second floor. And there's a sort of hall that connects the two of them. During the day, the cantina is the part that's open. The dance hall is only open at night when they're having a show. But the dance hall girls in the day do still sort of like hang out at the cantina and entertain people. You can purchase dance tokens from Diamond Dave, and then you cash in the dance tokens to literally dance with one of the dance hall girls. That's the whole gig there. And you drink, and that's that. Now, I will tell you, as the two of you are kind of walking in, you'll hear an uptight passerby muttering under their breath, but loud enough for you to hear, about the moral scourge of painted ladies, right? As you make your way in. And then when you do go in, you see one of the cantina girls dancing slowly with a young ranch hand to a song that only the two of them can hear. They are dancing by the piano, but there's nobody playing the piano because the piano player's dead, even though they're not telling people that. But yeah, this ranch hand and this dance hall girl, when they finish, the ranch hand presses a dance token into her hand, and then the saloon girl gives her a kiss on the cheek. And the whole place is sort of the decoration, the decor is repurposed barrel. Table bases, side tables, low stools are all barrels. The wall behind the bar is decorated with empty green and brown bottles, and again, like I mentioned, there's that little space around the piano. As I paint the scene, everyone, what do we see that shows that the dancers are treated like celebrities here?
One of them comes in from the other side. She's just come down from her apartment. She's come into the cantina, and everybody applauds.
On one of the walls near the entrance, there's a row of framed pictures of the dancers, and one of them has a small piece of paper taped to it that she is out and her understudy is available, and people are visibly disappointed.
I think there's kind of a pile of copies of these pictures and a pen, so that the dancers can give out autographed photographs of themselves or paintings of themselves to admirers.
Yeah, there would be photographs. Yeah, they would be doing
Yeah.
that.
One of the ladies stumbles in after a very late night out. She's only just arriving this morning, and she's clearly had a long night. She sort of stumbles past the bar and knocks over a whole bunch of bottles. They smash to the floor, and the staff just say, "Oh, no, that's totally fine. We're okay. We're just going to clean this up. You go ahead and do what you want." If anybody else had done something like that, there would have been hell to pay.
I love it. I will tell you, Travis and Sister Mary, in addition to some of the daytime patrons and the dance hall girls, kind of, mingling about, Diamond Dave is behind the bar. And there's one person there who stands out. They are very, very conspicuous. A patron, a woman sitting at a table by herself. She is conspicuous because her manner of dress makes her look like she's not from around here. Neither of you recognize her. And she's wearing a very prominent gold Egyptian Ankh symbol on her neck, and she's not trying to hide it. It's like just out the front of her coat. A strange detail. If Slade were here, he would almost certainly recognize the symbol. In any case,
Travis definitely doesn't recognize it. But
yeah. Well, so Sister Mary, what do you do?
Sister Mary notices this symbol around this person's neck pretty quickly. It's so big and so obvious and so out of nowhere. And she kind of wrinkles up her nose, kind of like it's distasteful just having something like that looks like it should be religious in this town and have it look like that and not be.
It's pagan symbol.
I didn't even want to say the words, honestly. Shocking behavior for El Paso. And I think Sister Mary is going to turn up her nose at this person, whoever she is, and instead head to the bar to talk to Diamond Dave about the corset. She's going to sort of gesture to Travis to come along.
And that woman at the table actually calls over to you, Sister Mary. She says, remind us, Sister Mary, what's the name you use in your flashbacks?
Harriet.
Harriet. She calls you Harriet. She says, Harriet, I'm surprised you don't recognize me.
Oh, and Sister Mary, I stop cold, just dead, expressionless, and trying to decide if I should turn around or not turn around. What's more obvious? What's more conspicuous? And eventually Sister Mary does turn around and give this woman sort of an appraising look, still nose wrinkled and disdazed.
She says, I do apologize. We actually haven't met in person, but I did have a chance to get to observe your work while you were in London some years ago.
I have no idea what kind of work you're talking about, unless you mean the work of the Lord.
Well, I suppose that all work ultimately is the work of some Lord. So, the Wounded Knight,
Clearly, you want to have some sort of conversation with me. I suppose you should probably just spit it out.
She laughs and says, will you have a drink with me, Sister Mary? She's calling you by your actual assumed name now.
I am a person of faith. I do not drink, which is, of course, when we saw Sister Mary's rooms, there's a bunch of empty bottles in there. I do not drink. That just leads to sin.
Well, I'm fairly certain that Diamond Dave can get you a glass of, what is it, sarsaparilla?
Oh, goodness. Very well, let's converse. Travis, suppose you should just go up and talk to Diamond Dave by yourself.
I think Travis is kind of very distracted by the dancehall girls and hasn't been paying attention to what Sister Mary and this lady have been saying to one another, but kind of say, oh, right, and step over to Diamond Dave.
Sister Mary notices that Travis is looking at these women, and she kind of just scowls and says, "That's the first thing I work on."
Let's cut back over to Slade and Wyatt. Slade, which bonus do you want?
Could Slade ask Wyatt about Slade's past?
Oh, I like that. That's pretty good. I'd like to see how that would be framed up.
I think Slade, after packing up the game, would hesitate for a moment and say, Marshall, would you say that we knew each other well?
Come on, Slade. We've been working together for the past 5 years. I reckon we know each other about as well as two friends or acquaintances would. Now, I do know, I suppose, a few more things about you than you let on with other folks, but keep those in the vault, just like you asked. What an odd question. Is this something you need to talk to me about?
One of those things in the vault. What is it?
What do you mean? What is it? I mean, come on now. You're the one who told me. Something the matter with you?
Consider it an accounting of where my secrets lie.
Well, I mean, you let me read your diary once, and well, gosh, it made me cry.
Why?
Well, I mean, you're the one who wrote it. Don't you remember? Is something going on with your memory? It's about your wife, Slade. You stopped writing in it. It's the diary she gave you, and you stopped writing in it after what happened.
Thank you.
Do you truly not remember?
My memory may be giving me trouble.
I heard of this happening, but usually not with young people. Then again, we are in El Paso, and it is the Wounded Knight.
I appreciate that you think me young.
If you're having trouble remembering something or somebody, you can ask me. I'll keep this between me and you.
For now, yes. My thanks.
Of course.
I appreciate the game. Thank you, Marshall.
Good. Travis. Diamond Dave will lean over the bar and say, to get your attention from the dance hall girls, Travis Walker, what have you and the Vigilance Committee figured out about this corset? It's back in the apartment, by the way.
Well, now, the marshal, my brother, he sent me to keep an eye on it today.
All right.
So maybe I can just, hell, me a deputy. Or maybe I can just go sit back there.
He's like, yeah, you a deputy. It's a time of miracles. That is certainly true. And then he says, what about these bodies I've got in the root cellar? And he kind of stomps the floor behind the bar because that's where the root cellar is.
Well, someone be along to take care of those. But right now, I need to concentrate on this corset.
All right, well, I can leave the bar to take you up there. Here, come on. And he will walk you back through the hallway that connects up to the dance hall because the stairs to the apartments are on the other side of the stage. He'll take you that way. I do want to check in though, because I love this little part of, I love everything about the Red Rock Cantina. It's probably my favorite location thing after the Vidal's mansion and All Hallows Scream. And one of the, it talks about the hallways. They're the hallways that connect the cantina and the dance hall, but also the apartments hallways. And they're always dark, and they always have a lingering smell of booze. And you can hear the sounds of San Francisco Street penetrating the thin walls. But I love this paint the scene. Faded posters glued to the walls advertise the nightlife of old El Paso. Describe one of the acts or venues now long gone.
I think there used to be a fortune teller, a very well-known fortune teller in Old El Paso, who would do demonstrations of crystal ball readings. And the crystal ball was huge, so that people could see from, the audience on the stage what was happening in it. And it would be this amazing demonstration of lights and fog and quite honestly, a lot of spooky things happening in this crystal ball. Nobody really figured out how she did it. This was before the Wounded Knight, supposedly. But she's long dead now, Madame Fortuna. And
Medium Rhea.
yeah. And yeah, she's definitely left her legacy about town though.
Medium Rhea is the best joke. Like, that joke is eternal. I love it. It's no joke has ever been funnier than well done, Medium Rhea. Okay. Keep going. Sorry.
I think there's an old playbill for a old time freak show, with the tattooed lady and the kind of lizard man and all these kind of poor unfortunate souls who were likely not paid very much for the only type of work they could get in those days.
There's also a small kind of hand-drawn playbill for a traveling troupe of actors calling themselves the Small Guignol, and they were testing the baker's son on the road.
The Petit Guignol.
The Petit Guignol. Le Petit. There's a very old one that it's actually like a series. This single wagon would come through and litter the place with advertisements to try and get people to show up to their show or their attraction, whatever it was. But it's just a single wagon attraction, and every year when it came back, it was a different thing. But they always basically had the same flyer, but with like a different, like just a slightly different play on it. But the like original one was like a chicken that allegedly played tic-tac-toe.
Man, I want to go to Old El Paso. Good. He takes you up to the, there's the stairs behind that go up to the apartments. And he takes you to the stairs, just to the stairs first. And he turns you over to a young man who is very willowy, kind of wears his hair long, and he's as pretty as a girl. He says, Stretch, take Deputy Walker upstairs to take a look at what. And Stretch says, sure, come on, Deputy. And he'll lead you up the stairs. And as you're going up the stairs, he says, so, do you have an opportunity to see many of the shows, Deputy?
My work keeps me kind of busy, but I stop by from time to time.
Well, I just love them. I mean, from my vantage point anyway, my only job is to make sure no one goes up and down these stairs, especially when there's a bunch of people here. But I see how the girls get ready, how they move around on stage. It's all about what you can see and what you can't see at any given time, the curves and the cloth. I mean, I could probably get up there and turn a few heads if you dressed me up right.
I think
Maybe even you too,
what
Deputy Walker.
Travis gives a little cough, and you can see him blushing. And well, I don't know about that, but sure wouldn't mind taking a turn around the dance floor with some of them girls.
Yeah, well, they're real nice. And he kind of takes you up to the apartments, and we'll come back to that. Sister Mary, this woman, smooth coppery skin, her well-tailored clothes, and of course that very prominent ankh medallion hanging around her neck. She says, well, I know both of your names, and you don't even know any of mine. I am Lady Antonia Eurydice Bathsheba Hargrave Steele. You can just call me Antonia.
Well, I should think so. That's quite a mouthful.
Yes, well, that's how we do it in merry old England. Well, when you're of a certain class, anyway.
Sister Mary just clenches her teeth a little because that really strikes. That strikes, and she doesn't like it. Now, what is it you wanted to talk about?
Well, I know you're a member of the Vigilance Committee, but I just find this Wounded Knight business completely fascinating. I happen to have a very keen interest in all matters related to the supernatural. I even started an informal paranormal research group in London back in, well, let's just say, but it's been quite a number of years now. I'm aware of the corset, of course. It might surprise you to learn that there are a number of artifacts just like it all over the world. People in my circles call them the objects of power. There's the St. Petersburg mirror, the Mumbai brazier, the Whately camera, the Torval quill, that jewelry box in Mexico City, and the corset, which doesn't have a clever name yet. Maybe you could think of one.
I'm not in the habit of coming up with fanciful names for demonic objects.
Sister
Why
Mary,
is it that you...
Sister Mary, I have an entirely academic interest in the corset, and I've been following it for some time. I don't have any desire or hope or capability of subduing it. I am merely here to observe. But its presence in this town is fantastically dangerous, and the Vigilance Committee must treat it as such. I think, for example, it's probably a very bad idea to send up a reckless young man to go up and keep an eye on it by himself.
I'll have you know that that reckless young man is my spiritual protege. I am here to help save his soul, and if you have no faith in him, then you have no faith in me, and you have no faith in Vigilance Committee at all.
I care nothing for the Vigilance Committee. I only understand the work that you do. And I'm telling you, Sister Mary, that this corset is a great and terrible power. It will rend this town in two, and it cares nothing of your God.
And pray tell, how do you know this? How did you even know the corset was here?
Well, that was just happenstance. I'm actually here because of the Wounded Knight. I find it fascinating. As I mentioned earlier, I have a keen interest in supernatural. But I'm aware of the corset. And, well, sometimes these things just converge. I have a whole theory about the Wounded Knight if you'd like to hear it.
Well, I suppose if you're interested in telling.
It involves ley lines and nexus points and cosmological alignments. It's all quite a lot to deal with, and it's not something that, well, you can just summarize neatly over a whiskey and a glass of sarsaparilla.
Well, perhaps you could give a little presentation to the Vigilance Committee at some point while you're in town.
Perhaps I could. I wanted to let you know that I happen to be something of a colleague with someone you met in London.
And who was that?
Well, let's just say if she was the type of person to send kind regards, she would have sent them. Regrettably, she's not.
You know, I much prefer when people just get to the point and speak bluntly.
Yes, I can see that. Well, good luck with the corset. And certainly, I'm staying here. I have a room just above one of these lovely gambling saloons. I actually don't remember. What's the name of the one in Daisy Man? The Rio Grande gambling saloon. You can certainly come find me there.
I suppose if I feel like it, I will. I do send blessings of the Lord with you, of course. And I
Oh,
think she's very much
fantastic.
like eyeballing that Ankh. As
I love all the blessings, all of them. They collect them like dance tokens. And she's got one. And she says, "Here, for you, or your young friend." And then she leaves.
Sister Mary eyeballs the dance token distastefully, but still puts it in her pocket.
Wyatt, what are you going to do after your chess game?
Now that we got that done, let's see. Well, I'm leaving that corset up to my brother, so I think I'm gonna collect Lloyd and we'll go check on something with the Daisy Man.
Okay. You want some leads?
Yeah.
We still haven't checked out the Rio Grande gambling saloon, I don't believe. You did the Golden Spur a little bit. And of course, poor Walt is dead now, who was the security man who had the most contact with the Daisy Man. But there's the gambling saloon. There's also been some homes that have been hit as well. And the El Paso Times, which is also on Santa Fe Street, is very, very on top of this story. Like the Daisy Man is a big story right now. So those might all be fruitful things. And then the bank. The bank is not open yet, but it's it's getting there. Or actually, no, it is open. They just did the ribbon cutting ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll collect Lloyd off of the street where he's doing his selling things, see if he's seen anything, and then go check out the one you said we haven't checked out the gambling hall yet.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's the largest saloon on Santa Fe Street. And it was the first victim of the burglaries.
We'll check that out.
The front has a large U-shaped bar made out of dark wood, and there's a wide mirror behind it. And there are 5 tables kind of spread out around the bar. And then the back hall is actually the room that's dedicated to cards and dice. And you'll even see Clarence O'Toole back there running a game, because Clarence O'Toole likes to get a hand in at all times of day. But let's paint the scene. This is generally considered a pretty upscale place, if not as exclusive as the Golden Spur. It's generally considered a pretty upscale place. How have things changed since the burglary?
There's a lot more security. Just a lot more toughs just standing around watching big guys with big muscles and big frowns.
People say that the drinks don't taste as good as they used to, but they're still pouring out of the same bottles. There is some rumor that they might be cutting the good stuff with some cheap stuff to try and make back lost profits that were stolen.
Oh, that's a good detail. Yeah.
I think it's driven away some of the custom there. The hall is unusually empty, and I think some of the patrons have gone across the street to rival establishments.
Some of the decoration has been marred a little bit by the installation of mirrors in corners to see the back of people as they walk in.
I like that. Wyatt, as you and Lloyd go in, you actually are joined right out front by Lady Antonia Eurydice Bathsheba Hargrave Steele, who you've never met, but her room is above the Rio Grande Saloon. And she says, good afternoon, Marshal.
Afternoon, ma'am. Tip my hat. You don't seem as though you're from around here.
I'm
Eyeballing
indeed
her.
not.
Unusual.
I am Lady Antonia Eurydice Bathsheba Hargrave Steele. I am a paranormal researcher, and as you might imagine, with the interesting seasonal events going on in El Paso, I find your little township to be of great interest.
Reckon it would be of interest to somebody interested in paranormal things. But look, looks like you're bringing in paranormal things right round your neck.
Oh, this?
You reckon?
Oh, go ahead.
You reckon you could keep that in your room? You might make some people antsy.
Marshal Walker, last night when I was strolling the boardwalk here on Santa Fe Street, a child walked up to me, and that child, well, his eyes, I can only describe them as filled with ghostly wear-light. He was glowing like a lantern, and I could tell that he was clearly unnerving to some of the other folk out on the boardwalk, but it was just a sort of accepted part of life around here. Certainly, if something like that can be tolerated by the good people of El Paso, then an Egyptian symbol of the god of the dead is not anything to cause a ruckus.
That's your business, ma'am. I'm just
in any
letting
case, I
you
must
know.
wear it prominently or I will die.
All right, if you say so. I've got some business to be on about.
She's like, well, you're going in the same direction. She goes in, she's like, look at all the mirrors in this place. It's almost like we're in some sort of like fraudulent spiritist lounge or salon. Some sort of medium is going to sit us all down and shake the tables, and ghosts are going to appear everywhere.
I don't reckon I know about 1/5 of the words you just said.
Oh, Marshal Walker, you are absolutely underestimating your talents and skills. I know what the Vigilance Committee gets up to. I know what you've been up to. You don't need to play coy or sort of helplessly provincial with me. You have experienced ghostly encounters and you have dealt with them. That is something to be commended.
That's the Vigilance Committee's business, ma'am. Lloyd, you mind making sure Mr. O'Toole stays over there in his table? I reckon I better have a word with him after I finish up with this Miss Steele.
Lady
Mrs.
Antonia Hargrave Steele. You can just call me Antonia, though.
Antonia, then.
Yes, it's the feminine form of Antony.
I reckon so.
Meanwhile, Slade, what are you up to?
I think maybe, well, since Wyatt brought up the corset, maybe Slade's gonna start poking around there.
Yeah, are you going over to the Red Rock then?
Yes.
I think as you are on your way to the Red Rock, you are waylaid by Annette Shields. Annette Shields, homesteader who's super into ghosts and wanting to welcome them to El Paso. Her brother's the gravedigger. We haven't met him yet, though. She strides over to you and she says, Mr. Slade, I had a question about the activities of the Vigilance Committee, and I was wondering if you might be able to help me answer them.
I may be able to help you answer them.
Well, what are we going to do about these riders out by my land? I have now had no fewer than 5 conversations with them. They are terrible conversationalists. They are easily distracted and confused. They don't really know what they're doing out there. And I'm afraid things are going to get a little hairy. Like, as in, they're going to just start shooting people because they don't know what else to do. They're ghosts with guns.
Yes, they are quite capable of shooting people. We will deal with them.
Well, it's just that, well, they're making some of the men who work for me out on the land, they're making them a little nervous. They keep asking about Jimmy Pike. Who's Jimmy Pike?
He is their target, the fifth of their company.
The fifth? Who's the fourth?
It is no concern. He's dead.
Ah, yes. Mr. Slade, I tried to bring this up with Marshall the other day, and I'm not sure that I had much of a receptive audience, but I thought perhaps if I posed it to you, a proposition of sorts, that you might be able to convey my desires to the Marshal and perhaps make him see my way of seeing things.
Perhaps.
I propose a spectral welcoming committee, not just a vigilance committee, a welcoming committee.
You wish for more spirits in El Paso.
Well, I just wish that we are a little bit more cordial-like with the spirits that we already have. I think treating them like some sort of invasive horror or some kind of every 6-year problem to be dealt with is just the wrong way to go about it.
So you believe welcoming and coddling them will prevent further issues?
Coddling them? You say that as if you have a bit of an axe to grind with the dead, Mr. Slade.
I do.
And she sort of like leans back a bit. She says, well, perhaps just tell the Marshal that we spoke.
I will do that. Would you like me to head to your property to speak with the spirits now?
Well, yes, I wish somebody would come out there.
I am free now.
All right. Come with me. I'll make you a glass of lemonade.
No, thank you.
And let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Well, Sister Mary, once you're done with Lady Antonia, you're there finishing up your sarsaparilla. What are you doing now?
I think I finish off my drink and I go up to the bar to bring my glass up because that's just courteous, and also I want to talk to Diamond Day for a second.
He says,
I
Sister Mary, Lola and I were talking about this the other day, and because of the sort of surreptitious manner in which we have been dealing with the victims here at the Red Rock, no one's given these bodies their last rites. Now, I know it's been a little while, but maybe you might want to go down to the root cellar and,
Of course, maybe that's one of the reasons why this thing, this demonic item is still hanging about here, is because the bodies are still here and they haven't been blessed. I
yeah, maybe.
suppose, could you, I think she's going to order a shot of whiskey, real whiskey,
Yeah.
but looking around, like, make sure nobody's watching. Could you possibly get me something to drink that is a little stronger than this sarsaparilla?
He's like, of course, Sister Mary, of course. There's no judgment in my pour. And he pours you a shot of whiskey. And yeah.
I think she will kind of hold on to it, trying not to spill like her hand over the open part of the cup. Well, where are these bodies?
Well, yeah. He's like, down here. And there's a trap door that goes down into the root cellar. There's a narrow stair kind of goes down. And he's like, there's not really any room for more people, so I'll just stay up here. But you get the impression that maybe it has, because he doesn't want to be down there with the bodies. But he will let you down there. I do want to talk about this root cellar a little bit. Is cramped, it's dark. He'll give you a lantern, smells of earth. It's currently storing 3 of the victims, the original 3 victims. but it has been used for many other purposes over the years. Let's paint the scene. What down here makes us think that Lola and Diamond Dave have alternative sources of revenue?
There are a few crates stored down here, and some of them have, those kind of branded stamps, but they're in languages other than English. There are ones with French and ones with even, non Cyrillic script or kanji script or those kind of things. So that, there's obviously like goods moving through here that are coming from exotic parts of the world.
There's a distinct ammonia-like smell and a couple of packages with a dark brown substance inside. Diamond Dave and Lola are on the sly in the opium trade.
I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. As you're walking past, Diamond Dave closes a door, but you see beyond it a large circular room with lots of seating and room for a good cockfight.
I was going to go with cockfighting. I think instead of cockfighting, you can also see that there are little pieces of what looks like items taken from basically various types of graves. There's a few rings, some things that are even a chipped headstone that has or a piece of headstone that has like a gold embossing on it. These are things that Sister Mary knows have gone missing from the local cemeteries.
And there's a really beautiful symmetry here with where Travis is right now. Travis is in Lola and Diamond Dave's apartment. And their apartment is actually just 2 bedrooms with a shared office between them. And there's sort of nice blue brocade wallpaper. Everything's polished to a high shine. A sort of symmetry in the paint the scene. Looking around their apartment, how do we know business is good?
Even though the furniture in the was it the saloon that was made out of all the barrels?
The cantinas, the barrels,
the canteen,
yeah.
The furniture here is a very solid, heavy, well polished mahogany.
There's a hat hanging on a hook, and it's a extremely ostentatious ostrich feather hat for a lady.
Afghan rugs, big Afghan rugs.
There are things in the room that some might have like gilded, but they have them like true metalwork of whatever fine metal they would be.
So, Sister Mary, while you're down there with the bodies, what do you do?
Sister Mary takes the shot of whiskey and then reaches into her pocket and pulls out a handkerchief to hold over her face, because the stench down here with these bodies that have been decaying and have not had any treatment is beyond compare. And her eyes watering, I think she steps up to the bodies. I imagine they're just sort of laid out on the floor. I can't imagine they were set up to host a bunch
I
of
think they're probably just
corpses.
kind of in a spoke pattern, like kind of laid in one corner.
Yeah. I think she's going to crouch down and inspect the bodies, like look at them to see, she knows how, from hearing about it, how these people died, but seeing it is a whole other matter.
Make the information move with reason.
My dice fell. 1 second. There we go. Oh goodness. Dang it. Yeah, that's a 2. I don't know why I was even looking for the modifier.
How interesting. 2 down in the dark basement with 3 badly mutilated bodies. What could go wrong? We'll find out when we get back. Travis. Stretch unlocks the armoire that the corset is currently being held in. And indeed, you see it there, kind of hanging. The only thing in it, the only thing in the armoire. I'll remind you, it's this kind of burgundy, I don't remember the material, satin or something, and with black trim. And you just get like a really terrible feeling from it. Like as soon as you lay eyes on it, waves of malignant evil rolling off of it. How does it make you feel?
I think there's a whole combination of feelings for Travis. He's a young man, and just being in the presence of ladies' undergarments is kind of that's already making him feel all kinds of things. But yeah, I think a sweat breaks out on his brow, and he doesn't understand what it is making him feel this way, but he just desperately wants to get out of that room. It's almost like there's something physically pushing him, like pressure of air pushing him back toward the door.
Take a condition. I like the way you describe the pressure, because that's what the corset does, right? The corset tightens. Take the condition short of breath. Stretch is already out of the room, and he says, "Deputy, let me know if you need anything." And he actually shuts the apartment door, leaving you there with it. Do you stay?
I feel obliged to. Yeah, I think Travis is he feels this task is beneath him, but he's determined to prove he's up to it.
Please take the night move at disadvantage. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail? Actually, if you lose your nerve.
I'm afraid that, I'll be just another one of the bodies, and it'll be an ignominious death. My legend will be forever tarnished by the manner of its ending.
It's worse than that. You're going to end up in the root cellar along with the other victims, and that might be your ultimate fate. Please go ahead and roll with sensitivity at disadvantage.
Sensitivity is 1. Let's see. Oh my God. A 3. Snake eyes.
Bad things
that's
happening.
2 lowest dice.
Bad things happening at the Red Rock Cantina. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's check in with Wyatt. So Wyatt, a much lighter affair at the Rio Grande Gambling Saloon. Lloyd has Clarence in eyesight. What are you doing?
I was trying to talk with him, but this English lady won't leave me alone.
Well, she'll go upstairs. She's done.
Okay. She's done. All right,
Yeah.
great. Then we'll go over to Clarence O'Toole's table, have a seat.
Marshall,
Fancy meeting.
welcome.
Fancy meeting you here. Return to the scene of the crime, as it were.
And I'll remind you here that Clarence wears very, very like outlandish kind of, I think it's like a yellow suit, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get his look down. He a pale yellow suit with a green paisley waistcoat and bright orange tie. And he's got these ridiculous curly mutton chops. And he says, return to the scene of the crime. What are you trying to suggest, Marshall Walker?
Don't play games with me, O'Toole. We figured it out. We know it's you. But justice demands I get more proof or catch you in the act. And so here I am. Figured we might have a conversation about this. Perhaps I can dissuade you. Make you turn from your vile ways. Or perhaps get a confession. Wouldn't that be something? Tell me, Clarence, why do you do it?
You know, Marshall, if I understand my conventions of adventurous frontier literature, you and I will play a card game together, and we shall have a little duel of words. We shall trade witty bon mots. We shall circle each other until one of us, the cat or the mouse, claims their prize. Escape in the latter's case, or the mouse in the former's case. Who is the cat, who is the mouse, I don't know, but do sit down and I will deal you in.
It's a game for days, it seems. Lloyd, join us, please. A card game is
Lloyd
better
says,
with
I'm not
more.
much of a card player, Marshall.
Oh, please, you won that watch off of him, didn't you?
Clarence says, don't worry, Lloyd. The Marshal isn't much of a card player either, but I'm going to go easy on you. Have a seat. And he's shuffling the cards. And he says the game is something, I don't know anything about cards, and deals the cards. And I like this as an information move, but like using composure as you sort of are like kind of keeping your nerve and your poker face, as it were.
All right. I don't know that Lloyd is helping me out here. I'm probably just doing this. It's
Oh
fine.
no, I think it. Yeah, he's there. I think he's part of can be part of it. Do you get some kind of advantage with deputies?
Well, just when I tell him to do stuff, but
think-
I'm not telling him to do anything.
I think it satisfies the condition if you want to. I mean, I can't. It seems like given the circumstances, it makes sense to me. So you want to roll with advantage?
$10.
Very good.
I want a mastermind clue out of it. I'm gonna mark a thing.
Very good. Slade, let's check in with you. The camp. The Ghost Riders camp. There are bedrolls and a tent. There are some large rocks that have been arranged for seating. And there's a mirror, a bowl, and a straight razor set out on a small folding table. No sign of the Ghost Riders. It's just the camp. But paint the scene, everyone. Looking around, how can we tell this camp is being used by dead people?
No footprints.
Say that, Slade.
There's no footprints in the sand.
Rob.
No sign of fire, no sign of, remains of food or water or anything like that. None of the things that would be necessary to sustain living beings.
When you stand near where the campfire's ashes are, you can hear crackling, like a fire is happening, but cold emanates from the spot.
There is a well that was dug at some point, but there's some sort of dead creature in it, like a rabbit or something that fell in. And clearly, this well has not been used for any sort of actual water in a very, very long time.
I love it. Slade, you're there at the campsite. You're very close to the Shields Homestead as well. That's just a couple hundred yards away. What do you do?
So I would insist that Miss Shields stay back before approaching the camp and uh, looking around. I think Slade will say, "I do not come to harm you. I would like to merely speak about that which you summoned."
Make the information move with sensitivity.
Nine.
We'll come back to that. I'm going to check in with Travis first. Travis, you feel bony, long fingers touch your neck from behind as if someone has reached around from behind. And they are dragging very long, polished nails along the scruff on your neck. And then you hear a voice whisper to you that says, "You are nothing. You will always be nothing. And in the memory of this world, of you, there will be nothing." And you just feel almost pleasurably warmth, your warm blood spilling out of your artery, dribbling down your shirt like a bib. You fall to your knees, and the voice says, "Oh, that was even more disappointing than I thought it would be." And your blood spills out over the Afghan carpet, soaking it. Unless you want to mark Janus Mask.
I believe I will.
Indeed,
Is there a special mask available for this?
there is the
Right.
Mask of Beauty. Each hunter narrates a flashback to the last time they felt truly beautiful. I don't think we've done that yet. Can certainly mark it.
Yeah, why not?
Sister Mary, you see the thing that in that other timeline attacked Travis. It has the appearance of a very tall, bald, elderly woman wearing the corset, but it's been cinched to an impossibly narrow waist, So it's like a dramatic hourglass shape. And they walk with a spider-like grace. This tall, elderly woman. And her fingernails are long, almost claw-like. And she says, "Wouldn't you like to be your very best self?" What do you do? First of all, how do you feel upon seeing her?
Angry that, I mean, the world itself is ugly and disgusting, but this showing up down here when I'm supposed to be doing last rites, this thing just showing up out of nowhere, trying to ruin one nice moment in my day where I get to bless these bodies. I'm mad.
Take the condition angry. And then what do you do? She moves closer to you.
I think I step backwards almost, I'm not even thinking about it, just to sort of back up and get away from it. And I'm going to pull out the gun that I have from the war and hold it out in front of me, facing this creature, this thing. Don't come any closer.
She raises her hand and she just like one by one, each finger curling in, tightens a fist, and you feel your breath escape your lungs as you are being cinched in. What do you do?
I drop the gun and instead reach under my clothes and pull out the biggest crucifix I have, and it is an actual crucifix, not just a cross, and hold that up and start muttering as best I can any sort of prayer or thought or psalm that I could possibly think of.
Do you want to invoke your move right now, even though you're not technically dead?
I would like to.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean you're
please.
on your way.
Yep.
The move is, let's read it for people watching the video. Fallen. If you would be struck dead and you are not pious, you are not, you can instead narrate a scene where you are miraculously saved and then take the condition pious. So you will banish her from your presence. What does that look like?
I think so. Sister Mary pulls out this crucifix, and it is large, way too big to be wearing under clothes comfortably, but sometimes you have to be over the top, especially in a situation like this when you have weird ghost things coming at you. She holds it out and she starts to mutter, and she's against all odds, something, please, something stop this creature from destroying this situation, from destroying me, and then of course destroying any opportunity for these bodies to get blessed. And I think for a moment it looks like all the lights go out. Like, it's dark down here anyway, but it's like somebody pulls the dimmer switch on really low and then turns it up as high as it can go. The smell of the bodies almost just evaporates immediately, and it's instead a smell of morning dew, like a bright morning day. The creature, this bald spider like person, stops just in its tracks, and its skin and body starts to crack like a porcelain doll if you were to hit it in just the right way, and little pieces of light start to stream out of it. And right when it looks like it's going to shatter into a million pieces, instead it implodes in on itself in just dust and little pieces of glass.
Nice. Take the condition pious. Pious can only be cleared with another one of your moves called But Not Forgotten. You do not have access to your vice while you're a pious, and any roles you take that engaged with or that are associated with a sinful act are taken at disadvantage. However, whenever you perform a charitable act, you mark one of your boxes. Once you've marked all 7 boxes, you get to clear pious. So
I just realized how bad this is going to be because I have 3 conditions now.
yeah, it's
I can't use my vulnerable moves or my my vice.
you have to depend on others. But good. We'll pick up with Travis in a moment. So Wyatt, the card game. Maybe just give us a little bit of the fiction of the card game. Like, how's that going?
I think we're playing back and forth, and it's going well. Like Lloyd is more just like on the periphery, a part of this. The real game is happening between the Daisy Man and the Marshal. They keep trading hands back and forth. They keep and it's kind of all come to this with both of them pushing more and more kind of chips into the middle. I think they're just playing with chips though. There's no money associated, but the idea is, whoever wins this gets the information.
I would like to suggest that the wagers are becoming more esoteric and not just money, right?
Right. I think they push chips in, but like say something associated.
Yeah. And eventually he puts something in that's not a chip at all. It's your clue. And he says, he puts this jar on the table. Actually, I better check and make sure this is not a clue I've already used. No, he puts this jar on the table, and the jar is filled with what appears to be postcards and buttons and other little like tiny mementos. And he says, I found this. Not really sure what it's worth, but well, it might be something of interest to you. And he slides that forward to you.
Yeah.
Out of character, or maybe it's a ghost jar. It's used to attract the dead. You put mementos in it to attract the dead. That's your clue.
I think to match his bet, in theory, like in the scene, it's what's happening, but I don't think the Marshal intends this to be like how he's raising the bet, but the Marshal's like coughing into his rag, and you can see the blood on it, and then the Marshal kind of gives a cough, and some of the blood flecks onto the cards that he's holding, but he's so into it that he leans forward and he slides that rag closer toward the ante and the pot before he slams his cards down, revealing just an impossibly good hand.
The game goes on for a bit more, and he says, well, this is the last thing I've got. Something I managed to swipe during my recent dinner with the lovely Ms. Isabella Reynolds. And he puts forward an old newspaper clipping from about 12 years ago. The newspaper clipping details the hanging of Mr. Edward Reynolds for stealing horses, hung in El Paso by the old Marshal. That is your mastermind clue. Let's take a moment to update our things here.
Yeah, I think in that scene, Lloyd is the one who picks it up and is reading the newspaper, and he's like trying to get my attention. He's like, Marshal, this says things that shouldn't be, but I'm too intent on what's happening here to pay him any mind until much later and realize the implications.
Indeed. Slade, you got a mid result, yes?
9, yep.
Yeah. There's no response from anyone. No ghost makes a response. The ghost riders aren't even here. But we'll get a clue. Oh. Something. A baleful wind. A howl in the distance. Something causes you to turn your head. And you can see the rear of the Shields Homestead. A wide, windowless wall. Words have been painted on it. You know what you did. That's your clue. Travis. You marked an aspect of the Janus mask, the Mask of Beauty, thereby making your roll 7 to 9, meaning that you will keep it together, or at least not be killed. Everything happens as I previously described, with the demon or whatever it is taunting you. But then it goes away, presumably responding to whatever Sister Mary was doing down in the root cellar. But I'm giving you a condition, which is no one will remember me. And I think at this point, I want to just check in with everyone. We've got a little more time for a little bit more day phase. I do want to check in, just find out what everyone wants to do with the rest of their day phase. Sister Mary, I assume you're going to keep investigating bodies, but okay. Travis, is there anything you're going to do for a final scene here in the day phase?
I was kind of hoping to, I don't know, I feel like I have to stay guarding the corset, really. I was kind of hoping to, if Sister Mary was there with me, I was going to take that dance token and and sneak off for a dance. But yeah, I don't think the opportunity is available.
Yeah, if you can do it tonight.
Mhm.
Slade, what do you do after you see this message written on the side of this Shields home?
I think I'd like to talk to Annette a little more.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea. Wyatt, once you're done with your genre appropriate card game.
I think I'll excuse myself from O'Toole and swing by the office, make sure everything's on the up and up, and I imagine I might run into Del Sol there.
Del Sol, indeed. Good. Let's pick up with Sister Mary. Sister Mary, you can take a information move with. You said are you examining the bodies, or what are you doing with the bodies?
I think what we see is Sister Mary, after all of this goes down, she looks back at the bodies and they don't look as grotesque and horrifying as they did before. I mean, to the audience, they look the same, but to Sister Mary, what she sees is, the end of life, which is a miracle in its own, right? And I think she's going to go over to them and prepare them and trying to make them look nicer, and bless the bodies. Can't really do last rites, but at least try to give a blessing.
I like it. I think we'll just leave it at that, and I'll let you make a mark on
but not forgotten.
but not forgotten. Yeah, yeah. Travis, Sister Mary's not joining you, and you're there, left with this terrible corset. Anything you want to do at the end here?
I think Travis is just seated in one of these luxurious armchairs that's in this room, but the sweat's pouring down him as he just sits opposite this open cabinet with the corset in it, and it's almost like, in the movie of this, there would be an eerie hum almost coming from that cabinet that only he can hear.
Good. The Shields Homestead. Mm-hmm. It's a big 2-story house with a fenced area for horses and goats. There's actually a plaque near the front door that reads, "Our friend has fallen asleep, but now I will go and wake him up." Let's paint the scene as you sort of step into Annette's and Eli, her brother's home. The Shields siblings lost their parents when they were very young. Looking around, how do you know they expect the wounded knight to bring them back someday?
The table's set for 4.
The laundry line has not just clothes for Annette and Eli, but their parents' clothes. They keep them washed and air dried so that they don't get musty when they return and need something to wear.
All the beds are made up and ready for the family members to sleep in when they arrive.
There's in the corner a box of welcome back party materials just waiting to be strung up.
They go bunting. Oh, that's good. Annette has just set out some cutlery in one of the places on the table. And she says, "Oh, Mr. Slade, I didn't hear you come in. Did you have a chance to go take a look at our visitors' camp?"
They were not there. You mentioned that they had spoken of Jimmy Pike.
Yes, they frequently do.
Do you know anything of him?
Make the information move with presence.
Six.
She approaches you and she puts her hands on your cheeks. You don't know if the death touch is affecting her or not yet. But she says, "Mr. Slade, I know you know how to bring them back. I know just as well you know how to help me go and see them. Which will it be, Mr. Slade? Will you help me welcome them back, or will you show me the way where they are?"
I know they mustn't be allowed to return, and I know you will see them when it is your time.
And she leans in close and she says, I believe my time is now, Mr. Slade. Her mouth is opened partially, inviting you in for a kiss. Do you reciprocate?
No, I think he's going to try and back away as if repulsed.
It's already happening because she's touching you. You are going to have to try to save her life or let her die.
Well, let's try and save her life.
Per your move, that is done at disadvantage. It is still just the day move, though. With vitality. And I think your wounded leg is making it hard for you to keep control. But it doesn't matter because you're already rolling disadvantage.
Disadvantage, that's 6.
If it's okay, and tell me if it's not, Ben. She just goes in for the kiss. And it's like you were drinking her up like from a straw. Just all of her vitality, her life. She's being drawn in, collapsing. Husk that crumbles at your feet.
That's dandy. Slade will step back and kind of roughly rub at his face and stare down at her, and then just turn to leave.
Wyatt Walker. Wyatt Walker. Del Sol says as he sits up in his cell from his bed. He says, how goes it in the ghost hunting game, Marshall?
Well, we're just trying to keep law and order in these parts. I see, even in the late afternoon, you're still here.
Oh,
Reckon you're
yes.
sober enough to let out?
Not quite yet. Still sleeping it off, Marshall. Still sleeping it off. You know how it goes.
Well, perhaps you'd tell me something about these odd things going on in these parts. I keep hearing about these ghost riders. Haven't looked into it much myself. But I reckon when you're in your cups, consuming your spirits, you might get gallivanting all over the mountains and see a thing or two. Isn't that right, Del Sol?
I suppose it might be right, Marshall. Go ahead and roll sensitivity.
Hey. It's good. Let me check my stat. Sensitivity, is it 0 or is it something else? 0. 11.
Nice. You get 2 clues. And his disposition is a friendly drunk. He says, yes, Marshall, I might know something about those fellas. I might know something about that fella they're after, Mr. Jimmy Pike. He says, well, one thing's for sure. I was at the assemblage the other night, and old Elmer has it right about that cat. That well-fed cat. Just an FYI. That means for your information, Marshall Walker. But there might be more interesting things as well. For example, There is as of late a preponderance of blacked out windows. What do you suppose that is? I feel like blacked out windows are for when you don't want the sun to penetrate the room. As you might imagine, I find this to be a bit of a personal affront. You see all the sun tattoos on his body. Or perhaps it's just someone who doesn't want to be found.
Perhaps they don't want you staring through the window.
Perhaps, perhaps. And he says, you might also look for clothes drying in an unusual place, Marshall Walker. Seems funny that I should have to explain to you the basics of deductive reasoning, Marshall, given our relative positions in the law enforcement world. But nevertheless, I'm happy to help.
Del Sol, I'd half convinced myself you were just terrible news, that you were untrustworthy. But look at you, a fount of information.
A veritable fount of information. Oh, Marshall Walker.
Your thinking does remind me of myself sometimes.
Mm. Well, Marshall, if you ever want to know what it's like on the other side of the bars, you can always just come in here and sleep it off.
I've been sleeping it off in your cot back at my place. I couldn't stand the sight of that bed no more. And the cot suits me just fine.
I bet
That
it
bed
does.
treating you okay on the inside of the bars?
It is fantastic. It is of exceptional quality and comfort. I know that our time together isn't going to be much longer, Marshall Walker. I fear that the sun always sets.
There is an order to these things, Del Sol.
Yes,
A sort of justice to them.
yes.
In your time, unlock the bars, open them up, I think is up for the day.
Thank you kindly, Marshall Walker. And he strolls out of the cell. The tattoos on his body. He has a big sun tattoo, very central on his back. It has a face. And it winks.
I think I give kind of a racking cough as he's leaving and see that.
That'll end our day phase. Let's go to the dusk. Do we have any playbook moves that resolve in the dusk? Can't recall.
I'm trying to remember the task assigned to me. Is that
That's at
resolve in the
dawn.
dusk or
That's
the morning?
dawn.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
dawn, yeah. I think there might not be any. Let's do a little paint the scene about El Paso. I don't have the PDF pulled up naturally, so let me do that real quick. Okay. And let's talk about the Wounded Knight. So we've done the children, agriculture, the silent infants. We've done the aged of El Paso. Let's talk about the campfire tales in El Paso. clip it for you here. Drop that into chat. The Campfire Tales in El Paso. During the season of the Wounded Knight, you'd have to be duller than a bag of hammers to try and tell a ghost story at the fire. What stories are substituted in for evening entertainment?
Love stories. It's actually a really wonderful time in some way. I mean, aside from the whole Wounded Knight thing, because a lot of men around El Paso that really love these love stories. Well, they don't get an opportunity to sit around and tell them and listen to them during most occasions because, well, just the big tough cowboy talking love stories trope is not. It's not really good for the machismo sort of reputation. But the love stories, a lot of men are really, a lot of the cowboys, a lot of people in town are really invested in them, and they become more and more melodramatic and elaborate as the Wounded Knight goes on, of course.
I think just old tales of various countries where people or their parents or their grandparents came from. So, you know, myths and legends of the old country, but the less scary and fearsome ones at this time of year.
I think a lot of effort is put on telling stories of what things would be like without the Wounded Knight. What ifs?
Tell stories of the wonders of New York City and the things that are happening and the things that will be in El Paso as soon as the rail line can bring all of those wonders here to the Midwest.
Indeed, indeed. Fabulous. Let's keep going with our phase. Thank you, everyone. Here we will talk about what we're doing tonight. Does anybody want to answer a question though before we dive into that? Are we at answering a question stage, or do we still need to do more investigating here on some of these?
I think I've got an idea for the Ghost Riders, for at least some of the clues. We might can see if there's a way to incorporate more of them.
You have 6 available on a complexity 4, so
Well, we just
yeah.
picked up a couple more, right?
Oh,
From
you did.
Dancehall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did indeed. Yeah. So you've got tons of clues on this. Yeah. You got the clothes drying in unusual places and blacked out windows.
Right.
And the goal here is just to figure out where is Jimmy hiding. So do you want to tell us your idea now, or?
Oh, why did I think that we had a different? I thought that it was. I thought we were on the question of like how to deal with the ghosts.
You have to find, the question is, where's Jimmy hiding? That's the question. And then the opportunity that unlocks is whether you're going to defend Jimmy or lure the ghost to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I need to think about this in a different way. I was thinking about it from the opportunities.
Oh, right. I mean, we could take a quick break if anybody wants to like think of some theories here. Otherwise, we can just keep going and just deal with this another session. So, but you do have a lot of clues in this Ghost Riders one. So,
Just kind of a seed of an idea. What if Annette's brother that she kept mentioning has actually been dead for a while, and she's helping Jimmy hide by him assuming Eli's identity?
oh, that's kind of a fun idea. It's interesting. Yeah.
And that's why the blacked out windows, so no one sees when Eli's home.
The
Well,
you
good
know what
grief,
you
that would-
did is great because ghosts are going to be able to see through this disguise real easy.
I mean, that would mean all the Shields are dead.
The whole family. Yep. I mean, it's a thing. It
Or
happens.
That's why Annette knows that they're all coming back, because she did.
Yeah, I
No.
think the well-fed cat, the clothes, the blacked out windows, all of those point to, like, if they're all around a similar spot, those all point to a hiding place.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
and
very,
you could just
very, very
define
obviously.
that place. Maybe with some of the other clues, define what that place is, basically.
Right.
well, if it is Jimmy pretending to be Eli, him working out at the graveyard, I mean, he'd probably only come out at night, so people wouldn't see him.
Well, and also the painting, the message on the side of the Shields Homestead might also indicate that the Ghost Riders know that Jimmy is pretending to be Eli as well. So the Eli is actually Jimmy theory is pretty good. I think it's pretty good if
I
you all
like
want to
it.
pursue that. Yeah.
I'm
The
thinking-
blacked out windows, the cat, and the clothes would just kind of generally hone you in on where he's specifically at. The message backs up the Eli story.
Oh, how
Um,
close is that the Shields homestead to the massacre site?
It's probably not super close, because the group had to make like kind of a day of traveling out on the trail to get to that. But what was your idea?
Oh, I was just thinking if those were close by, it might be that Jimmy's been hiding out by the massacre site, and he's equipped to do so because he's part Apache or full Apache, so he knows how to live off the land in that kind of a way. And the 3 horse tracks going one direction, but the 4th going to the massacre site would reveal that, like, he kind of has a base of operation there.
Oh, I think that's pretty good. I mean, I think
And the
that's a pretty good
cat,
theory.
yeah, the cat and the clothes in the unusual place, like that's where they are.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. I think it maybe doesn't help with the windows part of it because there were no
No, I don't
buildings
think
over
there are no windows.
Yeah. That could just been Del Sol being cryptic.
Or Annette blacked out the windows so that people wouldn't realize that Eli wasn't
Oh,
there.
that's true too. Yeah, that might kind of back up the Eli story, I suppose. Yeah. So
Basically, we're trying to decide between the 2 stories.
yeah, it's
the-
what I kind of wonder if they're the same story, all the clues work, but I'm curious, why would Eli be hanging out? Like, does he just assume the identity of Eli when he comes to town?
He assumes the identity of Eli because nobody pays that much attention to the gravedigger.
Right.
It accounts for why he's coming from out of town, because his home is out of town.
Right.
And he's able to keep an eye on El Paso. Like, that's
Yeah.
Maybe he's also doing something in the graveyard to try and banish this thing that came from the mines.
Oh, I kind of like that too. That's kind of interesting. Like, he actually is doing work. Like,
Yeah.
him assuming the role of the gravedigger is part of it. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he probably needs like bones and like blessed bones and things like that. So he's pulling them out of the graveyard to go back and taking them
yeah.
out there to deal with this issue.
at the
Yeah.
massacre site. That's a good theory. It's a really good theory. It basically the only 2 that don't make any sense, but it might be okay because you don't need that many clues, is the humiliation from Thomas and Rip at Jimmy, and then the Carl Vanderhorn's opium addiction. But those could just be red herrings. So
Mhm.
you still have 6 clues on this the way you've described it. I think it's a solid theory. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
could
it.
suggest that the Jimmy Pike being humiliated at Ranger training, I think that it's possible that maybe Annette had found out about that and felt bad, and that's how they established a relationship, like as a friendship, Annette and Jimmy, and that's how he knew to come there.
I thought that maybe Annette, who seems a little crazy, I thought maybe that Annette thought it was really Eli.
Oh, I like that even more.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so that's why she's convinced that, like, the
Yeah.
dead are coming back, like, yeah.
Yeah, I like that even more. Scratch my idea.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's where we were going. I like it. I think it's a great theory. So basically, he's been hiding under everyone's nose as Eli the gravedigger. He's convinced Annette that he's Eli, and being the gravedigger puts him in position to gather the tools he needs to banish this creature from the mine, which was the original source of all the drama. And he's staying out of the massacre site because of its spiritual significance to what happened. I think it's a really good theory. I like it a lot.
With the humiliation thing, I was trying to tie in something. I was thinking, that they were, one of the ways they were humiliating him was by saying, "Oh, you'd be better off becoming a gravedigger's apprentice," or something like that. So there's a
Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so he actually did it.
right.
In a twist of
Yeah,
irony.
yeah.
Irony. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take
Or
that.
that put the seed of the idea into his mind of
I think it's
something,
really
yeah.
good. Yeah, I think it's really good. It's a plus. It's +3. So
That's a solid
that's
attempt
solid.
there.
Real solid roll.
David,
why-
you're the only person who's succeeded at rolls
Don't
today.
say that. Don't say that.
Maybe you should roll it.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. All right, I'll roll it. Okay, so that's 9.
9. It will succeed. It will be a bit of it'll be a fight, but you will be able to pursue either opportunity. I guess the question is, which opportunity are you going to lure? Are you helping Jimmy here? Like, deal with the Ghost Riders?
I
The
feel
marshal
like this is up
hasn't-
to Slade.
Yeah, the marshal hasn't directly been a part of this, but I think he would be inclined towards that. But Slade could probably talk him out of it.
But Slade is definitely of the mind that these ghosts need to go.
All right. Well, there we go. So you will basically you're essentially going to be using Jimmy as a lure to get the ghostly rangers to draw them out, and then the specific opportunity is, I'll read it again. The specific opportunity is resolve the threat by laying a trap for the Ghost Riders and then destroying them. So no quieting here except for the violent kind. Okay, I love it. I think it's great. Let's then check in with what everyone wants to do. Slade, sounds like you're going ghost trapping.
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yeah, I think so. I wonder if some of the clues and things that we've seen also might tell us how we can best accomplish
You can
this.
absolutely incorporate that information in. Yeah, definitely. But are you doing the hunt?
Yes.
Okay. Travis, what are you doing tonight? Lady in Gold hasn't put anybody in your path lately.
No, and I feel like the corset is kind of at its most dangerous at night in a way. So I feel like Travis should stay with it, or stay.
That'll be fun.
Right.
I think nighttime at the haunted Red Rock would be great.
Yeah, and I have a possibility for how I could become involved in the hunt, even if I do stay there. So, or the ghost. Yeah.
Intriguing. Sister Mary, what are you going to do tonight?
I think I'm also interested in dealing. Well, I feel like we probably might need a religious person outside. No, Slade got it. I think I'm going to also deal with the corset.
Okay, good.
After the whole situation in the basement or the cellar.
Sounds good. Let's keep going with the phase here. Oh, Janus Mask prompts. Everybody owes Mask of Beauty, but then there might be other things as well. Anybody want to do one?
I can do my
Yeah.
Mask of Beauty.
Go for it.
Oh, mine's going to be very quick. I think after the whole situation in the cellar and the miracle that happened, I think Sister Mary erstwhile is stepping outside into the street, into San Francisco street, and it is dusk. The sun is setting, and it's this beautiful orange light kind of reflecting. I assume we can still see the red moon, kind of reflecting off of the red moon and the sun as it sets, and it's making everything look pink and orange all across El Paso. And she's kind of taken aback by the beauty of it all. It's been such a long time since she's looked around this town and saw good in it or beauty in it. And she can kind of feel that reflected in herself and her love for this town and the people that are in it, and how much she wants to take care of this place. And it feels warm and inviting and beautiful in the moment, and it's been a very long time since she's felt that way.
I can go as well. Mine's also pretty short. I think we see a carriage pulling up in El Paso, and this is when the Walker family first arrived here, and the young Travis, still a boy, dressed in quite a fancy outfit, steps out of this stagecoach, and he notices just the kind of dusty frontier nature of this place and feels that he stands out, that he is very visible, the way he's dressed, how well groomed he is, how even, he's just a little boy, but he's kind of just a person out of place in a way, but in a way that draws attention. And he has this good feeling. He enjoys the attention, enjoys the eyes of all these people upon him. And in particular, he notices a striking looking older woman in a gold dress looking at him from across the street. Can't tell how old she is. One of those kind of faces that could be any age. And she just has a wry smile on her face as she sees this boy.
I think with Slade, the last time he felt truly beautiful was when he woke up in his new body on this floor at a ranch and walking through this house trying to learn about this place and this person that he was. He catches sight of a mirror and his reflection, and he stands too still in front of it for far too long, and just is aware of his new corporeal being and the beauty in it.
I'm gonna take a slightly different interpretation of last time. Travis and Wyatt are young, very young, and
to be fair, I mistyped it. It's just a time, so you're
okay.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take it that way though. But yeah, they're very young. They're staying with their uncle in El Paso, and their uncle has just finished reading them a story, finished it up, and it was the tale of the Texas Twister, and it's about a fast shooting gunslinging son of a gun, and the boys loved it. And while the old marshal is out, Wyatt is playing with his Lamat revolver. He's got the gun belt on. It's way too big for him. And he's standing by a mirror, and he keeps like pulling it out and like pointing at the mirror. And he's like, I'm the Texas Twister. And then Travis is like, but I want to be the Texas Twister, and like pushes him. And he trips and falls, and the gun goes off. And it was the middle barrel with that strange small shotgun, and the pellets fly all over the room. Some of them hit Wyatt in the face. That's how he got all scarred up on his face. That was the last time he felt so beautiful.
Nice, thank you. Any more Janus Mask?
I've got one more that I need to resolve. I'll do one of the past.
Okay.
Narrate a flashback to when the old marshal tried to warn you off your criminal path. Here we see, not so long ago, but 7 or 8 years ago, probably. Wyatt looking mostly like he does now, but a little bit younger, sitting on the front porch of the old marshal's place, talking with him. And his uncle, the old marshal, is has a chessboard and it is set up. We see that Wyatt was just kind of playing dumb with Slade as he is playing chess adequately against his uncle, who always just manages to best him. But the old marshal is more interested in having a conversation than in playing chess right now. And he's misstepping. He's like, Wyatt, if you'd done what you did in my town, I'd have to arrest you. I wouldn't have no choice about it. That's the way that justice is. Don't you understand that? Don't you get that? And Wyatt just stares at the board, doesn't make eye contact with him, and moves a piece. Still doesn't look up, but kind of nods like, yeah, I get it. I get it. And you got your brother to think about too. He's gonna need you. He's gonna need you. There's nobody else for him. Mom's gone. Dad's gone. I'm not gonna be here forever. Oh, Lord willing, I'll be here a long time, but I'm not gonna be here forever. And Wyatt kind of gives a non-committal. And they move some more pieces. And is any of this getting through to you, boy? Do you get it? You get how serious it is what you did? And then Wyatt moves a piece and goes, checkmate. And then he finally looks up. And the old marshal just flips the board. You don't get it at all. Look, I'm trying to save your life here. Do you know what'll happen if you keep running around doing what you're doing? I'll tell you what'll happen. And he lifts him up. And he takes the Lamat revolver out of its holster and he holds it up next to Wyatt's face. Be a lot worse than when you accidentally had this go off. And I don't want to be the one behind the trigger. But you best believe, boy, that somebody will be if you keep doing what you've been doing. That would be justice. But I don't want that for you.
Fantastic. The unseen for tonight. I clipped it and put it in the chat. I think it's also, it's actually in the tab now as well. Barry Michaels Barbershop. This is starting on row 69 on the tab. Gentlemen who wish to enjoy the comforts of a clean shave and have their hair cut in the latest and most fashionable styles should find their way to Barry Michaels Barbershop in Galveston, the largest city in Texas. You can find it 2 doors down from Casey's Confectionery Delights. Prompt 1 will be Amanda. Prompt 2 will be David. Prompt 3 will be Rob. Prompt 4 will be Ben. Rob and Ben get a little surprise in theirs. Let's take a 5-minute break. Barry Michaels Barbershop. Amanda, a straight razor takes a steady hand to get the smooth shave men enjoy. A clean blade is a hygienic blade. After a long day of shaving patrons, how does Barry prepare his equipment for tomorrow?
Barry Michaels Barbershop is the best place in town, and Barry is very proud of that fact. He, as a lot of people know, he does take a lot of care with his equipment. And after the day is done, he soaks all of his blades in the finest of whiskey. It's not just regular alcohol to disinfect. This is the finest whiskey he can get. So that they have a nice little scent, when they're shaving. He dries them all out on the softest of cloths. Everything is the highest grade material, and when he lays them out to dry or hangs them to dry, depending on the thing, brushes need to hang clearly. Um, they are on display behind a little glass barrier that was very expensive, so that when people walk into the shop in the morning, they can see how everything is laid out and ready to go. And it's all very impressive looking.
Slade and Wyatt, I assume you're together. Is the plan to head out to the massacre site and confront Eli/Jimmy?
Unless we can catch him at the graveyard first.
That works too. Let's say you see him there, just locking up the little gate that goes into the cemetery, which is next to the little used crematorium as well, by the way. And he turns and says, "Oh, evening, Marshal, Mr. Slade."
Evening, Jimmy.
And he gets a little look on his face like, well, whatever do you mean, Marshal? My name's Eli Shields.
It wasn't always.
He says, does this have something to do with what happened to Annette out at the homestead?
Slade will kind of glance at Wyatt and say, not exactly.
I don't reckon I know what you mean. Something wrong with Annette. I saw her just a few days ago.
We will
Well,
speak of this later, Wyatt. Or Marshal Walker.
He says, well, okay, so fine, you've deduced who I am. Is it a crime to pretend to be the town gravedigger?
Assuming somebody else's identity does have a bit of a wrong feeling to it. But that's not why we're here. We're here about the other business. We're here on Vigilance Committee business. We're here to deal with the ghosts.
Oh, yeah. Our Ranger trio. So, what's the play here? Are you giving me up?
No, we're not giving you up. Reckon you've about unburied enough people that it's enough that we can put them away for good?
We will send them back to where they belong.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Yeah. What? How can I help?
Well, we only know one dependable way to get all three of them in one place at the same time. That is where you come in.
That feels like a good cut. Over to Travis. Travis, are you actually diligently watching the corset, or are you just hanging out in the dance hall and cantina?
Yeah, I think at some point Travis feels like he needs to get out of that room just for a moment. Although, yeah, he doesn't really want to take his eyes off the corset. I mean, he does want to, but he doesn't feel like he ought to. But I think at some point, yeah, he's gonna step downstairs to get a shot or something.
I think as
Sort of
you
something
step
to
out
keep him
into
warm.
the hall where the apartments are, you'll hear the chatter of the dance hall girls in the dressing room, which is at one end of the U-shaped hall, laughing, chatting, getting ready for the show, because they will be doing a show. What do you do?
Yeah, Travis casts almost a wistful glance in that direction and pauses for a moment to just listen to some of the voices before stepping down the stairs.
As
Go
you're
to the
going down
bar.
the stairs from one of the apartments, you hear a different kind of sound. A woman softly crying. What do?
He pauses by the door for a moment, as though, his hand poised to knock. And then he thinks, no, it's none of my business. And carries on.
Sister Mary, you're at the Red Rock as well. Cantina or dance hall? Or somewhere else?
I think Sister Mary wants to talk to some people about where this corset came from, like who first brought it into the place. So I think I'm going to be going up to the dressing rooms
So you'll
where the
probably pass
dancers are.
Travis on the stairs, right? Stretch will be taking you up there, and he'll say, "Oh, hey, Deputy Walker. Oh, do you two know each other?"
Evening, Travis. How are you this evening? Looking a little worse for wear.
How's that, ma'am?
Oh, you just look a little drawn in the face today, you know? I haven't seen you since this morning, but
Well, my brother had me watching that darn corset upstairs.
oh, well, I suppose that would do it. Just make sure you say a few prayers and go get some fresh air, maybe. Sure, it'll do you a world of good. It's a beautiful night.
Thought perhaps I might take in a little of the show this evening. Maybe you can keep an eye on that corset for a moment for me.
Now, young man, you know what shows like that are. Probably shouldn't be doing that, but I am just your advisor, not going to order you about, so to speak.
Stretch says, "Oh, Sister Mary, the shows they're surprisingly wholesome. I mean, they don't even take off all their clothing."
There, you see?
Gracious. You too. I think I'm hoping to see you a little bit more on Sundays, the both of you.
Indeed. Let's cut back over to Barry Michael's barbershop. David, Barry finishes polishing his silver-plated scissors and picks up an advertisement showing the latest short styles from Boston and New York. Barry gave one of these cuts to someone earlier today. What gossip did the gentleman tell him from the chair that Barry thinks about now?
The gossip had to do with somewhere out there just off the coast, because this is Galveston, which is a coastal town. It's in the Gulf of Mexico. Somewhere out there, there's still pirates. That's still happening, not that far from the shore. And on the coast, there might even be treasure and things that they'd be burying. And it just sounds like so fanciful and so absurd and so ridiculous. But this man came in with very long hair and a very long beard, and even kind of swayed a little as he walked, and then got the most stylish modern haircut he could, and promptly, as he was leaving, asking where the tailor shop was. And he paid with an unusual currency. That Barry's just been thinking about it all day. Could that man have been a pirate?
Very good. So Slade and Wyatt, what's the plan here? I mean, how are you going to draw out the Ghost Riders now that you have Jimmy Pike in hand?
I'd like to tie in the mine somehow, see if we can't kill two birds, as it were, but that might be a stretch with just two of us.
I mean, how far is the massacre site from the mine?
It's
like a long
fine.
ways.
If you want to be there tonight, I think it's okay. It's not that big of a deal to be at both or either or whatever. I actually know what the plan
Uh,
is.
If we
At
could
least
use
trap 'em.
Jimmy to lure the spirits to the mine, maybe banishing the spirits could also get rid of the elder being.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know
I'm into
anything
it.
about the elder being. So you're gonna kind of have to lead the charge on that.
Well,
Don't know much other.
it's an interesting plan. Once Jimmy realizes where you're headed, because he knows what the backstory here, even if Wyatt doesn't, he says, wait, why are we going over to the tin mine?
You know what dwells within.
I do.
We shall be rid of it.
By the look on Marshall Walker's face, I don't think he does.
I reckon I don't. What is this, Mr. Slade?
It claims to be older than death itself.
And what does it have to do with this business? Is this
It
the
is.
thing they were trying to draw out in their
It
life
is.
before they were struck down?
Indeed. Leaving it would be irresponsible.
And I think as you are,
Jimmy, you tried to get rid of this thing by stopping them. Now we're gonna have to get rid of it after it's shown up.
so we're gonna feed the rangers to this creature? I know it was real angry at being summoned in the first place.
Reckon that'll get them gone and get it gone.
But you know there's a chance that none of us are going to survive this. This is a sacrifice for the greater good in every sense of the word. Sacrifice.
We pulled out of tough scrapes before, me and Slade, more times than I care to count.
You really haven't told him what's down there, have you, Mr. Slade?
I confess I know little myself. Perhaps you can enlighten us.
He says, what's down at the bottom of that mine? What my brothers brought forth is an evil that stalked these lands, these deserts, before there was even the idea of man. They brought it forth from its eternal slumber. Its dreaming was disrupted, and now it just sits down there in the dark, listening to the plink, plink, plink of mining tools, feeling its powerlessness, its inadequacy, and how trapped it is. That is not the sort of creature that will be thankful for this gift. It is the sort of creature that will exercise its anger in ways most violent and terrible.
And why would your foolish compatriots summon such a thing?
It is what compels all men, Mr. Slade. The promise of power. Raw, unrestrained, unequaled power. That feels like a cut. Sister Mary, going into the dressing room, yes?
Yes.
This room is on the same floor as the apartments. There are wigs, gowns, and shoes tucked all over the place. Very strong smell of face powder and stale French perfume. Paint the scene, everyone. This room is filled with reminders of the dance hall girls who have come and gone. What do we see?
There's a wall, sort of near the entrance, actually, that all of the girls who have ever danced here, they sign their names and they press a kiss in paint onto the wall, to leave their mark forever, or at least as long as the wall stands.
In front of that, so you would have to move them aside to get at the wall, is a clothing rack that has more clothes than anybody could have owned at this time period. Just tons and tons of clothes of all cuts and styles. And lots of these girls, when they left, just left their clothes here, the ones they didn't want anymore, at least.
In front of the mirrors, the rows of cosmetic bottles and jars are about 6 bottles deep, with the newer girls having their stuff in front.
There's a small kind of jewelry box, and it's overflowing with letters from various admirers to generations of dancing girls that have come and gone through this establishment.
Sister Mary, they all get a little like kind of quiet when you walk in, right? Previously they were laughing and chatting and things, and one of them says, Sister Mary, did you come here to minister to our damned souls?
Well, I'm always administering, but today I've just come to talk. However, it does seem like a few of you are busy, and I've noticed that some of you have made yourself scarce on Sundays, and I do expect to see you a little bit more.
Lola comes in. She's like, all right, girls, we got a full house tonight. I know we are a couple of hands short. There's a distinct awkward feeling that goes across the room. And she says, oh, Sister Mary, I'm sure the girls are very happy to have your words of encouragement before we go out into the stage under these very, very trying circumstances.
It is indeed a very, very sad time. I can't imagine what it would be to lose, some of your fellows in such a short period. Of course, aside from being at war, but that's a completely different situation. I do think that it's quite sad that all of you beautiful, talented young women that have so many opportunities in the world today, it's not like it was before. You have so many opportunities in the world today that you spend your time with indecent men. Be very shocking to any sort of law and, I mean, of course, God's law abiding person. But that's neither here nor there. Today, I'm actually interested in, well, the item that mm, may or may not be responsible for the unfortunate deaths of your colleagues.
We'll cut there. Travis, you are downstairs now, and indeed, all of the tables have been moved out except for the front row in the dance hall. It is standing room only tonight. You actually approach from behind, and you can see the stage, which is decorated like a lady's boudoir. And except they've also moved in some like I don't remember if last time we described the Adam and Eve number that they did before, but they have put in some like fake greenery and things to give it's a combination garden boudoir situation going on the stage. And so what do you do once you get down there? They have the second bar open.
I think Travis goes to the bar, orders just whiskey, and then kind of stands back with his back to the bar, leaning against it, waiting for the show to begin.
Indeed. Barry Michaels' Barbershop, Rob. Barry begins sweeping and chuckles as a tooth clatters across the floor. What memorable dental procedure occurred in the chair earlier today?
Well, Galveston's a big port, right? So I think earlier in the day there was an English sailor who came in. He required some dental attention. It seems he had been at a dance hall somewhere in Galveston and had got into an argument with someone and made some untoward comments about how the United States should still be a British part of the British Empire, like Canada, and for his trouble had his two front teeth knocked clean out and came to the barbers to shamefacedly the next day with a raging hangover and two broken teeth to get the gums cleaned up and some dental prosthetics fitted.
Indeed. Very good. I think I'm going to just kind of frame up the scene a little tightly here, Slade and Wyatt. I think you have gone a little ways into the mine with Jimmy, but staying near the entrance, anticipating that the Ghost Riders, perhaps watching your movements, will have followed you out here. And indeed, you hear a trio of voices calling out across the mining camp. The voices, this trio of voices, they speak in unison, and the sound carries throughout the camp. We seek the coward Jimmy Pike. If you know under which rock he hides, we request you turn it over. And if he is in the wind, we request you tell us true which way that wind blows. And if our work has already been done for us, we request you show us his coward's grave and then lend us a shovel. And you can hear consternation in the camp. You can hear someone challenging the Ghost Riders. You don't know exactly what they're saying, but whoever it is gets a shotgun blast to their chest for their trouble. Sister Mary, you can clear the condition marked by Charles Bellevue. Slade, Wyatt, what do you do?
Mr. Slade, you reckon we've got the place set up well enough yet? I can invite them in.
As well as we can.
I think we have taken the bones out of the graveyard, carved the names of these rangers into them, and stuck them in the walls. We've seen some success with this sort of thing before. Oh, Eli Shields. You give your last sacrifice. We had to desecrate your grave to get these bad spirits gone. We do apologize.
He does not mind, Marshal.
Over here, y'all. You three. I believe I have this Jimmy Pike you're looking for down this mine shaft.
You see them down
for
the way.
yourself.
You see them down the way because I think the entrance to the mine looks out over the camp a little bit. You see them. You see the miners in shock. You see one of them bleeding out. You see the three ghostly riders with their pale green oozing wounds. When you call out, you could have been whispering and they would have heard you. They all look up in unison. And then before you know it, they are standing in front of the mine entrance. weapons in hand. Give us the coward, Jimmy Pike.
Jimmy Pike's down there. Go on, give us a holler, Jimmy. Show him you're down there.
Jimmy says, it's me, Carl. Rip. I'm down here. And they just step inside and go deep. Walk right past you, Wyatt.
Slade will follow.
Once they get there, what are you going to do, Slade?
Hoping to rely on my deathliness to channel them to whatever hole they tore to extract this creature and send them all back through it.
Sister Mary, Lola says, they have a few minutes before the show starts. Girls, answer Sister Mary's questions. And she turns and leaves. And, you know, you recognize some of these women. You know some of them by name. Timpani, Dido, Amberette, Justinia, Claudine, Mercy.
Out of this group of people that I know, do any of them have a particularly interesting confession that I would have known?
Sure, you can have heard something from Amberette. Do I tell you or do you? What about works?
You answer, or you may ask me or another player.
Ben, what was Amberette's confession?
Looking at our side characters here. She has been accessory to adultery with yeah, let's go Diamond Dave.
Oh my. Since I know about that, I kind of give her a very long look. As she would know that I know that she confessed it to me one beautiful Sunday. Well, ladies, I don't want to keep you too long. I know that you have work to do, even though I do believe that you are probably better than this type of work. Just something to consider. I am interested in finding out who first brought this strange corset into this place. Somebody must have brought it in. It must be given to you. I imagine nobody here brought it in on purpose. I know that I'm not suggesting that any of you would have done something like that. If you have, of course, you're always welcome to confess to me. I am happy to take your confession.
Amberette raises her hand and says, Sister Mary, I don't know exactly what's been going on except for what happened to poor Hannah the other night, but I might know something about that corset.
Of course. Would you like to speak in private?
And she says, no, I'll tell you here. I don't have anything to hide. Except, you know, she does. In general, yeah. Travis. You're sitting around waiting for the show. I think you were approached by a fellow you know. His name's John Fales. He's a regular at the Red Rock, but he's a townie day laborer. He's tall and muscular and has a bristly 5 o'clock shadow. And he's like, oh, I tell you what, there's nothing like a show at the Red Rock. These have got to be the prettiest girls this side of the Rio Grande. And they're real nice, too. You'd think fine ladies like that wouldn't want to have anything to do with a clod kicker like me, but they're as friendly as can be.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Have you ever been to one of the shows? Deputy?
This gonna be my first.
Well, you are in for a treat. Here, let me buy you a drink. He buys you a beer.
Oh, I'm on duty. I'm just gonna have the one. He holds up
Right.
his glass of whiskey.
Exactly. All right. And then the barman will pour you a whiskey. And he's like, on duty, huh? So what's going on?
Well, I'm afraid that's Marshall's business. I can't really discuss it. You understand?
He's like, well, all right. Keep your secrets. And he raises a toast. And the curtains pull back as the show is ready to begin. Our last stop at Barry Michael's Barbershop. Ben, as Barry begins mopping after sweeping, his mop water turns red. His face goes stony as he remembers the minor surgery he performed earlier. What went wrong in that surgery?
It was just supposed to be a minor procedure. One of the local ne'er-do-wells had been bitten by his horse, and the wound on his hand got infected. And it was just going to be a couple fingers, no big deal. Easy enough for a barber to do. But when the man woke up, in his tired days, Barry learned that he had amputated the wrong fingers, and the man would never be able to fire again.
Poor guy. The Ghost Riders are standing over the lip of Shelf Rock, looking down into the inky black hole where the creature is. They don't even seem to, they've almost forgotten about Jimmy Pike at this point. They walk right past Jimmy Pike to look into this dark chamber. What do you do, Slade, to send them on their way?
Slade will step a little closer to them and call out to the being and say, an offering, stranger, those who awoke you. In return, you go with them.
This is going to be the night move. Except I want David to say what could go wrong here.
What I'd be afraid could go wrong here is this will just make whatever's down there get free. It'll give it enough strength to manifest in its true form.
And Ben, you say how it's worse.
It will consume him. It will take death unto itself and become death.
This is going to be, I think I actually want it with composure.
$11.
Very nice. Describe how you resolve the threat.
When he calls out to the presence, he can feel more than see. It's starting to swirl and rouse. And just as the Ghost Riders begin to gather their wits about them, what is actually happening here, I think Slade lets a little bit of himself go and the glow in his eyes kind of parts from his body, and the camera doesn't see what the spirits see, but they see his true face. And as they step back, we realize the creature has accepted this bargain, and they are shredded in their ectoplasmic just trails left behind as the creature brings them, and there's kind of a change in the pressure of the air as it leaves.
Sister Mary, Amberette says, it was that English lady, Lady Antonia. She brought the corset. I was there. She gave it as a gift to Luann. She said she brought it all the way from Paris. Luann was real excited to have it.
Did this Lady Antonia and Luann have a prior relationship?
Well, I couldn't speak about that, Sister Mary. But I wonder if that's why Luann ran away suddenly without telling anyone. I wonder if it had something to do with that Lady Antonia. I do know that that English lady, she was real interested. She wanted to know, well, what did the corset feel like when Luann put it on? How did it make her feel? She asked lots of questions about it over the course of days.
Did she now?
But that is
So-
your clue. Travis Walker, the show features a dance hall girl in the main stage performing a bawdy song about the Garden of Eden. Her dress and visible petticoat are emerald green, and her corset is decorated to look like snake scales. The number ends with her pulling an apple from a very provocative place. How are you feeling upon seeing the show?
I think Travis, he's leaning up against the bar trying to be nonchalant, but he's never seen anything like this before. His heart is beating fast. But there's also that guilty feeling that, what Sister Mary had said about his immortal soul and so on.
Take the night move with disadvantage because of short of breath. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
I'm afraid that something involving, because I've taken my attention from the corset, something involving that is going to happen. It's going to take another victim.
I think it's worse than that. It's going to take another victim, and it's going to cause panic at the Red Rock. Go ahead and roll with composure.
And disadvantage, great.
Yes.
-1 composure. This is going to go well. That is a 4.
A 4. It's not good. It is not good. Everyone watches the performer on stage be violently disassembled in front of everyone. Her skin begins peeling off in ribbons. She screams as her hair falls down in clumps at her feet. She collapses. Her eyes popped out of sockets on a face that's just muscle, staring at you, Travis Walker. That concludes the night phase. I know we're a little past time, so if anybody has to go, it's fine. We'll catch up with you. But if you got just a few minutes, we'll do this real quick. Let's collect rewards for the Ghostwriters. Feeling really good about the Ghostwriters. It's a great scene. We have some rewards here. I'll read them for folks watching the video. A Texas Ranger badge. Add to your personal quarters. Jimmy Pike becomes a recurring side character. You get an extra clue on the information move when consulting him on matters related to law enforcement. Everyone does. Fernando da Silva, that's one of the miners, the one who is aware of the thing in the earth, becomes a recurring side character. You get one extra clue on the information move when you consult him about things underground. Or, of course, a memento from the investigation. What does everyone want?
I know for sure that Travis would love that badge.
I'll take a memento and I'll have Rob decide what it is.
I'll unlock Jimmy Pike.
I'll take Fernando da Silva.
All right, let's note them on our little move sheet here. Just fill it in later, but just remember. And Rob, what's the memento?
I think the memento is just simply a little nugget of tin from the mine. If tin comes in nuggets, I don't know if it does, but
I guess they do now. Good. Continuing on with the Dawn phase. Dawn questions. You did answer a question and resolve a threat, so everyone's getting credit for the first two. Let's do Echoes in the Night. Sidewinder Kid, did you get an Echo in the Night tonight?
no, I was almost hoping I would get into a fight with that guy that approached me at the bar so I could knock his teeth out or vice versa and achieve an Echo that way, but it wasn't to be.
Fair enough. Sister Mary?
I was gonna go for one, but then I forgot to do it. So no.
Okay. Slade?
I was going for with no one having to fire a shot to get rid of the ghost. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
couldn't fire again.
Yeah, I'll take that. I like it. It's subtle, but it's really good. Wyatt?
I don't think so.
Let's go to individual questions. Travis, did you stick up for the little guy?
No,
Did you show off with a firearm?
nope, didn't even draw today.
Did not. Sister Mary, did you try to convince someone to do the right thing?
I didn't really push on it. So
You
I
didn't
don't
push
think
on
so.
it. Yeah, you were kind of getting close to it. But did you speak
Yeah.
on matters of theology with anybody who would listen?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
lots
yeah.
of it.
Yeah, especially with Lady Antonia. Slade, did you take some time to puzzle over the human condition?
He was curious why anyone would summon such a creature.
Indeed. And did you punish a wayward soul by sending it back to the spirit realm? I would say you did. And Wyatt Walker, did you come up with a rational explanation before accepting supernatural truth?
Yeah, I suspected that Diamond Dave was just doing some trying to make money off of this corset story before
Oh, that's
accepting
right.
that
Yeah,
like it's
that's
actually
right.
a bad thing.
Did you live up to the ideal of doing justice?
I think so. I sat down and kind of gave this little speech to O'Toole about how I wasn't going to arrest him unless I could catch him some in the act or whatever.
I love it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the move for the kid. You definitely attempted to do what you were trying to do, so you don't take any conditions as far as that goes. So
Which is just
bravo.
as well, since I have 3 already.
Yeah, exactly. And do we have any open Janus masks right now?
Is there any special thing associated with the Mask of Beauty? Or...
That's the one when you described the last time you felt truly beautiful.
Right, but there's no kind of lingering effect on the character or anything.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that concludes our session. Let's go and go to stars and wishes. It's a good session today. Let's dive right in. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I really enjoyed Slade and Wyatt's chess match, and then the later reveal that Wyatt actually knows how to play chess real well, and that was a fun detail. I enjoyed Travis getting to hang out in the kind of atmosphere of the dance hall and his character in that place where he's, probably not very comfortable or confident around these dance hall girls. In terms of wishes, I kind of wish I'd had a little more opportunity to interact with some of the characters there. But I did enjoy the scolding from Sister Mary. And yeah, the theorizing, I was having a great time listening to everyone's like theories about how everything tied together, and that was a cool resolution to that thread.
Yeah, stars. I really I loved a lot about today's session. I loved everything that took place at the Red Rock. I just really love the Red Rock Cantina and Dance Hall. It's a fabulous set piece. It's really it just feels so alive and organic and breathing, as a space for play. So really enjoyed that. I really liked how Travis interacted with it. Like I got these like really like interesting, like almost like these 70s cinema vibes of Travis, like the sort of young man kind of thrust into this very adult world, and sort of swimming around in it. I thought that was really great. I really enjoyed Amanda, the way you started playing Sister Mary once you took Pius, like your style of play changed in a way that I thought was really intriguing. And I liked that. It was almost like a switch got flipped, it was really good. The whole answering a question about the Ghost Riders, the whole resolution of the Ghost Riders is really terrific. I just love, what's more classic than a mine shaft showdown, right, in the genre? So that was really great. But with that sort of cosmic horror twist, the ghost twist was quite fun. The sort of horror of the Shields Homestead was really lovely. Really dug that whole sequence. Is really good. And I continue to love these, like, this is something that like doesn't really become apparent when you're making the game, but becomes really apparent when you're playing the game, which is this this really interesting dynamic where we get to see the inevitable interacting with the setting in a really different way from everyone else and in a private way. And it's just really intriguing. And it takes those ideas of like the picaresque loner gun shooter, the loner cowboy character, and really twists it around and plays with it in cool ways. And so I'm very, very, very much enjoying that. The scene with Del Sol was fabulous. I really enjoyed that Del Sol scene with Marshall, with the Marshall. Just, yeah, great session. Just, yeah, stars all around. It's good stuff.
Mine are a lot of the same. I loved the whole chess scene. I thought that was wonderful. In my notes, I wrote, "I'm loving this chess game. Wyatt is 100% hustling Slade." Like I called it right off the bat. I knew it. No way does he not know how to play chess. But I thought it was just a really, really fun character moment to see Wyatt, talking about, oh, well, I think Diamond Dave is doing this, and remember our background, and we have been friends forever, and all this other stuff. And Slade's like, yeah, that's true too. Yes, that is also a thing we've done. And it was really, um, yeah, it just felt like a really solid character moment for both of those characters. I loved Travis and the showdown with the corset. That whole bit was wonderful. Just getting really nervous staring at this evil corset, but also a little bit because it's just a corset. And I thought that was just a lot of fun. I feel like Travis being very kind of teenager-ish around the dance hall is really adds, like, it makes a lot of sense for Travis being this young man who is trying to make something of himself, and I thought it was great. I also liked the fake Eli theorization that we all did. That was a lot of fun. I always love doing the theorized moves, so it was a lot of fun today. Um, I have a note in here that I really love the condition "no one will remember me." It's so perfect and so on point and really kind of disturbing in a way that I love, which is great. I also love Dilsel and Wyatt. My notes are I want them to ride off into the sunset together. Yeah, lots of stars. Wishes. I can't wait for more pious Sister Mary. She's different when she's feeling the light, and I'm excited to see how that's gonna play out.
Yeah, I really loved all of the like genre tropes we managed to hit this session. We had a dance hall and like a kind of aw shucks younger guy who's trapped at the dance hall by circumstances, which I feel is like a genre trope. Um, we had um, we had a showdown at a mine. We had um, the kind of heel turn of a unpious character becoming pious, which is like definitely happens in the genre a lot. And that was really cool, and I'm digging how that's happening. We had another jailhouse talk with like a friendly Del Sol, a friendly prisoner, which is another genre trope. And then we had like the showdown at a mine. It's like just it's everywhere. It feels so Western. It's great. Yeah, I really was digging that. I liked everybody's Mask of Beauty. I thought those were all really cool. And kind of just showing different ways that that the characters like experience that. It's always cool whenever you get to do the like the masks that are assigned to everybody, just kind of see how people interpret their character through it or tell part of their story. I thought that was really great. I really loved Slade calling for a scene and asking me to say things about his past. That was pretty cool.
Good. Yeah.
But the explanation of like I'm not really having memory as reliable. It's like it feels like it's leading somewhere, but it's like a good like initial like explanation. And I thought that was pretty good. The like, is this the first time that Slade and the Marshal have really interacted?
I think so.
I think it is.
Yeah, probably because you missed a session. So even like you've had just logistically the less amount of time to even do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I liked how that was set up for them to be like older friends, and the absence is like perhaps even by design, like Slade is avoiding the Marshal when he can help it. Yeah, all that fit really good. I really liked Hargrave Steele coming in, and that feels like a very realized character.
Sarsaparilla.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I was dying every time that was said. And is interesting to consider that like that character may have brought the corset. That can be that's like almost like a mastermind level of interaction from a side character. So that's very, very interesting. So all that was very cool.
A lot of my stars are things people have said. I really enjoyed, David, your Mask of the Past. Getting to see Wyatt and the old Marshal was really good. Um, as mentioned, seeing Travis Walker kind of be the kid in this situation was also really good. Also, seeing him in very much a non violence context. Uh, as mentioned, seeing Sister Mary's change when Pius came in, also a special star in my notes for the disapproving glances you gave Rob when Rob was talking about the girls. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I have multiple wishes. I would like to see Slade explain what happened to Ms. Shields to Wyatt, because he did start that process. And also, I'd like to meet Antonia. That seems like fun. Yeah, just oh, and
I get
also
the distinct impression Antonio will know who you are.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting. She might even have more answers than Slade does. Also, there's just the constant brewing tension between Sister Mary and Slade, and I imagine that will be so much more fun now that she's pious and assumes she knows so much. Uh, so yeah, this was great. Looking forward to seeing the fallout.
Oh, yeah, I think my only wish is I'm curious to see which threat gets picked up.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think we're there. I don't, or we're close.
Yeah.
One last thing was I really enjoyed that last scene where, you know, Travis witnessed the horror at the dance hall and failed the role, and like it was pretty cool that Jason, you didn't give me an opportunity to put on a mask, because I was getting ready for you to ask me that, and I was going to say no, I'm just going to let it go because I want to see where this goes.
Indeed.
Yeah, our rolls were spectacularly bad. This is the worst I think we've ever, like, as a group, rolled in any Shadow
There were some
Society
bad
game.
ones, yeah. There was some, and it was always at like really intense moments too. It wasn't like, it was like high stakes rolls were like 2. You know? That was good. Any other stars or wishes? Well, if you indulge me for a moment with the stinger scene, we are looking out across a blasted landscape. It looks a little bit like the desert, if not for the sky roiling with purples and reds and black clouds. If not for ghostly wailing on the wind. If not for the vast field of corpses crawling. We are well and truly on the other side of the veil. And down below, set in a cliff wall, an enormous vault, a safe, set in the cliff wall, very big. And there is a woman who we haven't met yet, actually. She is wearing black riding pants and a red and black striped blouse. Her long dark hair is hanging loose down her back. And she says, well, there it is. I have strapped an incredible amount of dynamite to it to open it up, and I've had no luck so far. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, I don't think there's any opening that particular vault. And of course, Isabella and Edward are both there. And Isabella says, well, I have someone who might be able to help us with that. And Clarence O'Toole steps up to the vault. And he says, "Fear not, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds. My dear Felina," that's the other woman, "I have this well in hand." And his hand just dematerializes inside the vault door up to his elbow. And he's just fiddling around in there. He's like, "There we are. It takes a certain type of touch. You've got to move your fingers just the right way till you get the spot. There we go." And we hear a chunk chunk as the vault door opens up, inside of which is a bunch of ghostly outlaws, a whole bunch of them. At the head of their group is a large man with a handlebar mustache, wearing a long black wool coat and a bowler hat. His right eye and right arm are missing. Edward says, "Sergeant Hammett." The sergeant nods and says, "We are here and ready to be of service." And the ghostly outlaw gang steps out of the vault. And everybody's here on the other side of the veil, between the land of the living and the dead. And I will see you all next week. Goodbye.